Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson react to Islam Makhachev's recent comments about Paddy Pimblett. The UFC lightweight champion was complimentary of Paddy and his skill set, stating that the Scouse fighter has some potential and a fight between them down the line is something that interests him. This was interpreted in different ways by the MMA community and pundits, some of whom viewed the comments as simply an honest assessment from the Dagestani, while others had a little cynical approach, believing that Islam is simply playing a game of deception, encouraging interest toward the matchup from the fans and the company, as it would just be an easy payday for him. Nevertheless, a matchup that wasn't lingering in the back of the head of the majority of fans all of a sudden became relevant, at least in potential, and given Paddy's undefeated UFC record and winning streak, it wouldn't be illogical to assume that with a couple of wins against high-caliber opposition, Pimblett's moment to challenge for the division title can be guaranteed. Keeping in mind the popularity of the baddie and Islam running out of lightweight challengers to fight, UFC will most likely be enthusiastic about organizing the bout. Legendary MMA referee and commentator Big John McCarthy and the former lightweight Josh Thompson reacted to Makhachev's comments and the potential matchup between him and Pimblett.
I think Islam Makhachev is a very nice person and a person that is there to give encouragement to everyone. And he's looking and saying, Paddy, come on, come my way. I got something for you. That is not something that Paddy wants to take on right now.
No, it's not something he's talking about taking him on right now. He's got 2 fights, maybe 3 fights to go until he gets there. And I'm looking at the rankings, John.
That's a year away.
Yeah, it is. It is. But then also, Islam's got some work to do also himself. He's got Arman Sarukian. He's probably got Gamrot. If Gamrot gets past Dan Hooker, then I think it'll be Gamrot. I feel like the UFC is trying to set up people to challenge Islam.
Jon Jones shares thoughts about his future, following the recent push from fans on social media for him to fight Tom Aspinall before retiring. The majority of fans don't think that Jones's presumed next fight will be competitive, and that's a fair assumption. Stipe is 42 years old and far past his prime. His last fight took place 3 years ago, in which he got knocked out by Francis. The only reason behind UFC's and Jon's interest in this fight is Stipe's name value and the title of the greatest heavyweight ever. Jon, on the other hand, is probably looking for a relatively comfortable fight before possibly announcing retirement. Jon's comments on his future have hinted at the Stipe fight being his last one, something that frustrated many fans who think that fight shouldn't even be happening, and instead, Jon should defend his belt against the interim champion, Tom Aspinall. This would be an electric matchup and likely a more challenging fight for Jon, and his lack of interest in this upsets a portion of fans who have been pushing harder and harder to create noise around the potential fight against Tom, with the interim champion himself raising the temperature and ramping up on trash talk lately. Recently, Tom, speaking with Michael Bisping and Anthony Smith, claimed it is clear that he's the best heavyweight in the UFC, and not Jon Jones, who is the current champion. He then said that he'd retire Jon without even fighting him. Perhaps one of the most humorous results of this situation is a sentiment among some fans on social media who believe that Tom Aspinall would easily defeat Jon Jones, and actually Jon is not the real champion, only a champion on paper. And while trying to minimize the record and fighting ability of one of the best fighters in history might seem like a calculated approach to entice him to fight Tom, the general lack of ability and critical thinking among your average MMA fan would make this unlikely. Anyway, Jon has left the option of the Aspinall fight open, stating that if UFC made him an offer he can't refuse, who knows what could happen. This was pleasant for Dana White to hear, when a reporter read Jon's comment for him and asked for his thoughts, to which Dana simply answered, quote, "Well, there you go, that's what I think we'll do." Khamzat Chimaev's bad luck doesn't seem to come to an end, as it was recently revealed that he's heavily sick again, but this time, according to his manager, there is possibility of foul play. Most importantly, according to his team, Khamzat will most likely be forced out of his fight against Robert Whittaker again. Chimaev's story in the UFC has been somewhat of a chaotic one, as over time, once the most exciting prospect in the sport, who fought more frequently than anyone and was put on a rocket ship to ascend to championship, became an unreliable asset for the company, Alongside legal issues to travel to the United States, health problems became the biggest roadblock for Chimaev's progression. Last time, Khamzat had to pull out of the fight against Robert Whittaker after he fell heavily ill and had to spend days in the hospital. Robert then finished the replacement fighter for Chimaev, Ikram Aliskerov, and notified the UFC that he's still willing to fight Chimaev. Shortly afterwards, the fight was rebooked, this time for the date of October 27th on UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. Well, it seems like the fight is off again. The reason is a health issue this time as well. His frustrated manager shared he thinks this time somebody might have poisoned Khamzat. Speaking to the Russian MMA channel called MMA Brotherhood, Chimaev's manager, Mahdi Shamas, said the following, quote, "We need to get medically evaluated first, but one of the possible reasons, we think, might be poisoning. Food poisoning specifically. At this point, I think this didn't happen on accident." When asked how this might affect his scheduled fight with Whittaker, Mahdi answered with, quote, "Likely not happening. UFC has yet to make a comment about the situation, and at this point, there are no additional details available." Dana White goes off on MERAB'S in response to Merab posting a video revealing he received a cut on his face in preparation to his upcoming title fight against Sean O'Malley. Unexpectedly to everyone, Merab posted a video on his social media in which he was filming himself while receiving medical attention on a small cut, which he received in sparring. This wrecked the nerves of many fans, and concerned posts about what this could mean flooded the MMA space. And while the cut doesn't seem to be of a kind that would force him out of the card, revealing such information before a title fight against a highly technical precision striker perplexed the community. The news would obviously reach Sean as well, and most likely put a target on that specific place of Merab's face for him, as he'd try exploiting the freshly healed wound and try to open it up during the fight. Dana White wasn't very happy about Merab's decision to share this piece of news, and he commented on it during the press conference following the last Contender Series card.
I mean, our guys are so dumb. It's next level unbelievable. It's all the stuff that I talk about boxing. What I will give boxing is when something happens in a camp, man, let me tell you what, it does not leak. You know, our guys can't fucking wait to throw it up on social media. It's a small cut. It's no big deal, but obviously needed to be posted. It is next level stupid. Some of these guys are so stupid, it's mind-boggling. It's unbelievable.